In the last unit, we studied the integration of functions f from a rectangle R in R2 to the set of real numbers. In a similar fashion, we can study the integration of a function f from the Cartesian product of n intervals, which is a subset of Rn, to the set of real numbers. However, we are not going to define this or study this in detail. And recall that in the beginning of this course, we had discussed that integration really makes sense only for real valued functions. This is because integration is a generalized summation, and therefore we want the values of the function to be in the set of real numbers, because that's what we are going to sum up. But there is one special case of functions f from Rn to Rm for which we can define some notion of integration. This is the case when n is equal to m. This notion comes from a different perspective on such functions, and therefore we will first discuss this new perspective. Recall that any point in Rn can be thought of as a vector, namely the vector that connects the origin and that point. Therefore, given a function f from Rn to Rn and a point x in Rn, f of x is another point in Rn. And we saw that points in Rn can be represented as vectors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to represent this f of x as a vector, and I'm going to base it at the point x. And this can be done for all points. For any point x, I can draw the vector f of x at the point x. In this manner, I get a vector at all points x in Rn. And thus we get a collection of vectors distributed over Rn. Such a distribution of vectors is called a vector field. So in other words, what we have seen is that a function f from Rn to Rn can be viewed as a vector field. Now, given a curve in Rn, at each point I have a vector, and I can take the component of this vector along the curve, or in other words, along the tangent to the curve. Now I know the direction of this vector already because it's the same direction as the tangent. So all I really need to understand is the magnitude of this vector. And the magnitude is given by the dot product of f of x and the tangent of the curve at that point. But notice that this dot product is a real number, so we can sum this real number as we travel over the curve. And whatever we get is called the integral of this vector field along the curve that we have taken. In the world of physics, this vector field is often the force at each point, and the integral will often give you the work done as you travel across this path. Let us make this intuition precise now. Let f be a function from Rn to Rn, that means f is a vector field, and further assume that f is differentiable. And let gamma be a curve, that means gamma is a function from a closed interval a comma b to Rn, and we want gamma to be continuously differentiable. What do I mean by continuously differentiable? I want gamma to be differentiable, and the derivative is another function from closed interval a comma b to Rn. And this function should be continuous. That is what I mean by continuously differentiable. Then the integral of f over gamma is defined to be integral a to b f of gamma of t dot gamma dash of t dt. Notice that f of gamma of t dot gamma dash of t is a real number. Therefore, we understand the meaning of this integral. To ensure that we understand this concept better, let's take an example and work it out. So let gamma be a function from the closed interval -1, 1 to r square, defined as gamma of t is equal to t, t square. That means its image looks like a parabola. Further, consider a function f from R2 to R2 defined as f of x, y is equal to x plus y, x minus y. So the f is a vector field and gamma is a curve. And we want to integrate f along the curve gamma, which is a parabola. So we are integrating the vector field along the parabola. By definition, integral of f along gamma is equal to integral from -1 to 1 t plus t square comma t minus t square dot 1 comma 2t dt. This is equal to integral from minus 1 to 1 t plus t square plus t minus 2t cube dt. When you integrate t plus t, that means 2t, you get t square. When you integrate t square, you get t cube by 3. And when you integrate minus 2t cube, you get minus t power 4 divided by 2. And now we have to evaluate this at minus 1 and 1 and take the difference. If you take the difference, notice that the terms corresponding to t square and t power 4 will get cancelled, and therefore all that remains will be the term coming from t cube by 3, which will give you 2 by 3. It is clear that the differentiability of gamma is crucial because the derivative of gamma is used in the definition of the integral of f along the curve gamma. However, we can generalize this to some extent. All we require actually is that this curve is piecewise differentiable. And we will make this notion precise next. To make this notion precise, we are going to define a path. A path tau is a finite sequence of curves gamma I. Let's say gamma 1, gamma 2, gamma 3, etc. up to gamma n. And each gamma I is a function from ai comma bi, the closed interval ai comma bi, to Rn. And further, these curves satisfy a property. The end point of the ith curve is the starting point of the I plus 1 curve. That means gamma I of bi is equal to gamma I plus 1 of ai plus 1. Let us try to visualize this scenario. So we have some Rn and we have like one curve followed by another curve followed by another curve and so on. The blue curve, the black curve and the red curves are gamma 1, gamma 2 and gamma 3 respectively, and the combination of these three curves is the path from this point to this point. Notice that this entire path can be thought of as a single curve, but then it might not have differentiability at this point and this point. That's the issue. So that is why we are calling this as piecewise differentiable. In each of these three pieces, the function is differentiable. In fact, it's continuously differentiable. That's what we are assuming. And the combination of these three is a path from this point to this point. Given such a path tau, the integral of f over tau is defined as the summation of integral of f over gamma I, where I varies from 1 to n. And the earlier intuition that we can combine these individual curves gamma I to form a single function can be made precise by defining tau of t as follows. Define tau of t to be equal to gamma 1 of t if t belongs to the closed interval a1 b1, and equal to gamma 2 of a2 plus t minus b1 if t belongs to b1 comma b1 plus b2 minus a2. Let's try to understand this process a bit more clearly. I am attaching an interval, a closed interval of length b2 minus a2 at the end of this interval, that means starting at b1. This is done so that the union of these two intervals forms a single closed interval. And once we do that, I want to define gamma 2 on this interval. But that's not possible because gamma 2 of t is defined only for elements t in the closed interval a2 comma b2. Therefore, I map this closed interval to the closed interval a2 comma b2, and that's what I'm doing when I'm doing this. And for all those values, I'm computing gamma 2. And this process can be continued. More precisely, we can next take an interval that starts at this point and has length b3 minus a3. And we take a simple linear map that takes that interval to a3 comma b3 and define gamma 3 on that. And then you define similarly another interval that starts at its endpoint and length b4 minus a4, define gamma 4 on it, and so on. So in this manner, we have combined these curves gamma I to form a single curve tau. However, this tau need not be differentiable at the points b1, b1 plus b2 minus a2 and so on. And thus we can generalize the notion of integral along a curve to piecewise differentiable or piecewise continuously differentiable curves.